There's another snag we got to talk about. United Airlines flight attendants, they voted to authorize a strike. Now, this means that it could send 30,000 workers to the picket lines. NewsNation's Caitlyn Becker has the very latest on the strike and the rest of your holiday travel tips.
That's right. It is officially Labor Day weekend, and that might mean travel headaches. A record number of people are going to be taking to the skies. And here at Newark, there's been a steady stream of travelers, but no major delays so far. Hopefully that holds out. As many as 17 million passengers are projected to shuttle through the nation's airports this weekend. Nearly 3 million were screened on Friday alone. That's an 8.5 increase compared to the same time last year. This summer, we're seeing record-setting numbers, Americans appearing to shrug off the effects of inflation and layoffs. They're also taking advantage of cheaper ticket prices and lower gas costs. And while there's an uptick in domestic travel, the same can't be said for those looking to go overseas. Higher ticket prices there mean fewer people are currently traveling internationally. But if you plan to hit the road, the best times to travel are in the afternoon, and those returning, you got to leave as early as possible to avoid all of that heavy traffic. I am not telling you anything you don't know yet. This all, of course, is happening as United flight attendants voted unanimously to authorize a strike earlier this week. But good news here for travelers. The impact won't be felt immediately. Flight attendants can't actually walk off the job until they're granted permission from the National Mediation Board. And that can only happen if the board determines the talks are at a complete deadlock and further negotiations just won't be productive. Now, flight attendants say they want to send a strong message to executives, and they're demanding higher pay, more flexibility in their schedules, as well as a retirement plan and work rule improvements, among other things that they're asking for there. United Airlines released a statement saying, in part, to be clear, there is no work stoppage or labor disruption. Instead, off-duty flight attendants are exercising their right to conduct an informal picket. For now, travelers can rest assured that any kind of looming strike is not going to impact their travel this Labor Day weekend. But of course, if you are going to get out there this weekend, be patient, be nice to airline employees, because there are going to be a lot of people on the road and in the skies. Back to you.
Such a good tip. Be nice and be patient with airline employees. All right, Caitlyn Becker, thank you. Well, earlier on News Nation, traveler industry expert Sandra McLemore, she weighed in on the strike authorization and also what you need to know to stay safe this holiday weekend. Take a listen.
So far away from seeing an impact. Like you mentioned just now, there are many steps that have to happen between calling for a strike and a strike actually happening. So whether or not you're about to travel, already traveling, there is absolutely nothing to worry about in terms of an airline strike.
Okay, all of us like to hear that, especially with a busy holiday weekend. All right, I want to talk about this because domestic travel is also up 9% this Labor Day weekend compared to last year, which we know it was already up then too. How are the airline companies, how are they preparing for this influx of people? What are they doing?
Yeah, it is up almost 9%. And I think that's a lot in part to do with airline prices coming down, which is so good. And I expect them to continue coming down over the next 12 months. Airlines have had to prep themselves in two different ways. One, staffing, and the other, aircraft. Staffing, you've seen, Kelsey, a lot of changes in air traffic control and pilots, which has been positive change, meaning that most of the airlines are running on schedule, touch wood somewhere in here, and also without problems. The other thing, of course, is making sure that they have enough aircraft. And so far, again, touch wood, we haven't seen any problems at all this Labor Day weekend.
All right, so let's talk about travelers being prepared for the cancellations and delays they could potentially see. What do they need to know?
Yeah, listen, I'm going to start with what is not the most obvious thing, which is when you're starting packing and getting ready to go to the airport, this packing tip is going to impact how long you'll spend in TSA. Start with an empty bag. We saw at least 5 cases of travelers being arrested or having issues because they were packing from hunting bags or gym bags with things that are not prohibited to take online. The TSA has a very easy to follow list on their website of things not to carry. So start with an empty bag. Give yourself a lot of time. Now, TSA, I've spoken to someone from TSA in the last 24 hours who have told me that they're hitting all of their targets this weekend. So that's less than 10 minutes for TSA pre-check and less than 30 minutes for standard checks. Of course, that all hinges on everybody having only what they should have in their bags.
That is so important because we remember that whole Turks and Caicos ordeal. Oh, wow, just bullets in their bags. You know, the last question is, what should travelers know before heading out on the roads?
Yeah, heading out on the roads, two things. Firstly, for those driving electric cars, you really want to figure out where your charge stations are. And the second thing I think is driver fatigue. A lot of us feel like we can drive, so we should, but really making sure that you're rested up before you head out for the weekend or before you head back for that return trip is absolutely critical. Take lots of breaks, and also using Google Maps or Apple Maps to see if you can figure out what the travel time is going to be. A lot of accidents and alternate routes can be predicted.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.